just want to say when all this happened I was 18 and I was young, innocent and naive. Now that I'm in my mid-20s, I would never let this happen again. It was my freshman year at college, and as one could imagine, I was excited to be on my own for once in my life. So excited to be on my own, I decided that I was going to take summer classes on campus. That way I wouldn't have to worry about coming in when the big crowd of freshmen came, and I would already know where everything was. Plus it meant I could get away from my parents faster. But mainly all I could think about was boys. You see, I had never dated anyone through high school, so I thought I would find my true love at college. Because of course, that's what all the movies told me anyways. About 2 weeks go by and me and one of my roommates, I had 4, were hanging out in the lounge area showing off pictures from Instagram of our friends, family, etc. Well, my roommate, I'll call her Tracy, showed me a picture of her and these 2 guys. One of the guys was Tracy's boyfriend and the other was Tracy's boyfriend's best friend. I'll call him Sean. Now, Sean was very attractive and I told Tracy that he was hot, and she told me that he went to the tech college near us and he was single. Now a day or 2 goes by after this and she tells me that she told Sean that I was interested in him and he wanted to know if he could follow me on Instagram so he could DM me. And at that time I trusted Tracy because she seemed like a cool chill girl, so I excitedly told her yes. I wish I never told her yes. I talked to Sean for about a week before I was comfortable enough to give him my phone number. At first he seemed super sweet. He would always send me a text message in the morning telling me to have a good day at class, and he couldn't wait to FaceTime me that night. And we would FaceTime every night. At first I loved it because I never had a boy give me so much attention, and like I said before, I never dated anyone, so I was just over the moon that he was even interested enough to talk to me. But it started to get annoying. He would text me almost every second of the day and try to FaceTime me at least 4 times. When I wouldn't respond to him, he would ask if I was okay. Why wasn't I answering him? If I was seeing another guy. If I was seeing another guy, it would make him really mad if I was. I, of course, when seeing the messages, would try to reassure him I was okay and I wasn't seeing anyone. Like I said in the beginning, I was young and naive, so I didn't see this as a red flag. Things kept going downhill though. It came to a point where he started asking pictures of me, either just selfies or pictures of me in the mirror. I wouldn't send them though because I wasn't comfortable, and he would brush it off as saying that it was fine and I could send them pictures of myself to him whenever I was ready. One day I was in class for a long time because it was at lab and it started around 7 p.m. and wouldn't end until 10 p.m. that night. For those of you who don't know, labs in colleges can last 2 to 4 hours and mine just happened to be 3 hours that night. Once class ended, I headed up to my dorm and took out my phone. I clicked the button on the side lighting up the screen. I had 380 unread texts, 10 missed calls, and 3 voicemails from Sean. Before I could even react or even read all the messages, my phone started to ring. Instead of it being Sean, it was my dad. He called me to make sure I was alright because he got an alert from the phone company that I had gotten all those messages. I was still on his phone plan, by the way. I don't know why, but I lied to him and laughed it off, saying that I was just in a group chat with a bunch of girls from school. Once I got off the phone with my dad, I quickly went to look at the messages I had gotten. Most of them were demanding why I wasn't answering him, and he would come and find me if I didn't answer him. The voicemails were crude and mostly of him saying that he was going to find me, and when he did, he was going to punish me for not answering him. After this, I just completely blocked him on everything I could think of, completely freaked out about the whole thing. About a week goes by and I start to slowly forget about the incident, trying to not think much about it. At least, that's what I was trying to do. That whole week I felt like someone was watching me, but I brushed it off as me being paranoid. At the end of the week, my roommate Tracy, who I have been avoiding, comes up to me shouting at me and saying how I broke Sean's heart, and he had called her crying, saying he didn't understand why I stopped talking to him. I couldn't even get a word in because of how fast she was talking. She finally called me a self-centered bitch and walked away. I went to class right after that, not realizing I forgot to lock my dorm room. You see, I lived with 4 girls and each girl had their own room, which would lock from the outside with a key. Well, when I came back from class, I noticed my door was cracked open slightly. My heart dropped into my stomach. I hesitated going in. My hands were shaking terribly, but I finally got the nerve to push it open. Nothing. There was nothing out of place, it seemed. Even though there was nothing out of place, I could have sworn I closed the door before leaving for class. Though I don't remember if I locked it or not, I know for sure I closed the door, so I asked my roommates, including Tracy, if anyone had gone into my room today. They all denied it, even Tracy, but I just knew in my heart someone had been in there. I tried to brush it off, but I couldn't. So one weekend when I knew that all my roommates were going to be out of town, I switched dorm buildings and roomed with the girl I had gone to be close friends with. After I had moved in with her, I told her of all that had happened, and she said that she would walk with me to my classes, which thankfully we had most of our classes together except the night lab that I had, and she would walk with me to my lab and wait until my lab was done and to walk me back to the dorm. One night though, she had gone out of town to see her parents or something. I was walking back from my lab and it had gone really late that night again. I heard someone walking behind me, but I didn't pay any kind to it since class was just let out. But as I was walking, I could hear the steps getting closer, so I started to pick up my walking speed. At this point I could tell that someone was following me and I was afraid to look back. As the footsteps increased and got faster, I started running as fast as I could. Now let me tell you, I'm not athletic by any means. Somehow though, adrenaline probably, I was able to sprint to my dorm building hearing someone still running behind me, and thankfully already had my key card out to get into the building, and I swiped it on the door and it slammed it behind me. Looking up, slamming from the door, I see someone who's probably about 10 feet away from the door staring at me. Even though the person's hoodie was up, I could see their face and I could just tell they were looking at me. I just knew it was Sean. Not wasting any more time, I go to the RA that was up that night, telling him what had just happened. He called the police and I told him everything that happened. But they basically said they couldn't do anything since I didn't see his face, even if I thought it was Sean. And maybe I was just being paranoid since it was nighttime and I was walking by myself. After all of this, I called my friend and told her what happened, and she never went out of town if I had my late night classes. Eventually, I decided college wasn't for me and I dropped out. I moved back to my home state and went to cosmetology school and became a hairdresser. I still haven't dated anyone yet though. Maybe it's the fear of something like that happening again. I don't know and I'll never know. I do know that I'm super careful with who I talk to now and who I give my social media and phone number to. I'm still scared to go to places by myself even though it's been years and I'm states away. I had an Instagram account where I mostly posted my artwork. I didn't do much on there, but I'd use it just in case I was bored or felt like showing strangers my art. One Thursday evening, I got a notification from my Instagram, but it wasn't a comment, it was a message request from someone. I didn't usually talk to strangers online because creeps, but I felt lonely, so I gave whoever this person was permission and almost immediately sent me a text saying, "Hey, I love your artwork," with 5 heart emojis. I shrugged and replied with "thank you." Just when I was about to go on another app, they messaged me again 2 times. One was a text that said, "This is me by the way," and the second was a photo of an overweight woman in her mid-30s laying on her bed while holding her phone and smirking, presumably the stranger messaging me. I was 16 at the time and knew about online predators, but she looked friendly enough, right? Looking back, adding this woman to my friends list was the most stupidest thing I ever fucking did. Later that night, I was home alone while my mom was picking up my nephew. I was watching The Incredibles when I suddenly got a message from the woman. I opened it up and to my shock, it was a picture of her completely naked with her cellulite-ridden ass way too damn close to the camera. Then in seconds, a text appeared saying, "Like what you see?" with the winking tongue out emoji. I was both angry and revolted. I'm a girl, and this bitch expected me to like this? I just blocked and reported her, with that picture still burnt into my head. After I finished watching the movie, I was about to put on another one when I got another message request. The only words I thought were, "What the fuck does she want now?" As I realized that she made a new account, the text said, "Why the fuck did you block me?" in caps with 2 angry emojis and 1 crying emoji. I just ignored the request this time. Minutes later, as I was watching the movie, I got, again, another message request. I opened it up and my stomach turned. It was a photo of my backyard and me in the living room, along with the text with, "I can see you, you fucking slut." I looked from the living room to see the sliding glass door, and there she was, hiding in the bush and still naked, only illuminated by the moonlight. I could have sworn she was holding a kitchen knife. I ran up to my door, hid in the closet, and called the police and my mom. As I was calling 911, so many thoughts were running a marathon in my head, like how did she know where I live? My anxiety got worse when I heard the sliding door open. Shit, I forgot to lock it. I thought to myself as I prayed quietly, as I heard footsteps on the stairs and almost closer to my room. I thought this was the end, when to my relief, The sound of sirens came, and I heard the woman running down the stairs in a hurry. I then heard satisfying sounds of the cops tasering the bitch. A week later, me and my mom received an update from the police. It turns out that the woman was a sex offender who had mental issues, and not only that, she had been stalking me for a while and I didn't even know it. She was given 3 years and that's all I know. Since then, I set my Instagram on private and my mom took my phone away, which probably serves me right for almost getting myself killed. This all started a few weeks ago, but I will go back a couple months for context. The story is about my grandma and her Facebook account. She was absolutely amazing and everyone loved her. She was the type of person who would lit up the room when she entered. She was notorious for her baking, cooking, her playful attitude, her fantastic love with my grandfather, and the warm, cozy hugs she was always willing to share. Basically, if you knew her, you loved her, and she could warm even the Grinch's heart. However, this bright soul came to her sudden and slightly unexpected end this summer, shortly after the stay-at-home order was lifted. It was cancer. Me and my family watched it eat her away much faster than anyone could have predicted. After receiving the horrible news of her death, I remember thinking how impossible this was. Maybe because it was my first time experience with a close death, but I truly could not face the fact that she was really gone forever. Nevertheless, the world continued and so we all tried to as well. The funeral passed and we made a deal out of spending more time with my grandpa since she had died in his arms in their home. He spent his time with us gushing about their long life together and how they were married at 16 and beat all the odds. However, maybe only a month after the funeral, he shared with us that he had planned to travel the country and wanted to bring an old friend with him. Shortly after, we discovered that his friend was a female and the whole thing started to look suspicious. He left his son, my father and uncle, in their time of need to travel with some lady none of us have ever heard of. Anyways, it's been a few months now and my sister just made her first Facebook account. This is where it all started. She, being a sweet soul, decided to request my grandma on Facebook, knowing well she was not going to receive an acceptance. However, she did. At first, this was taken as a lighthearted joke. I remember smiling when I saw her post a screenshot of it on Facebook thinking, "Aw, my grandma's looking out for us." Also assuming it was really my aunt running the account. I didn't really think much of it, to be honest, not until her account started liking posts. It was almost like she was still here because she interacted, not a lot, but the fact that there was any activity was still just strange. About an hour ago, I saw my sister post another screenshot. The capture showed a new post from my grandma's account. It wasn't anything crazy, just a video of people forgetting to wear their masks in public. However, something felt very wrong about this. I messaged my sister and asked who was in charge of her account. I received a straight, I don't know, probably Jeff, our uncle. For a moment I almost shrugged it off, believing her, but then I decided to poke around a little more. I opened my Facebook app and I searched up her profile. It was pretty active, new posts, new likes, even some comments of emojis, and she would always use emojis. My stomach turned. Something is very wrong about the situation. I messaged my mother and brought it up and she said she was also confused. She had spoken to my aunt and no one had access to the account that we know of. Keep in mind, we have a very small, close-knit family and this is not something anyone would do as a joke. I'm convinced it was hacked. However, the way the account has been interacting is strangely familiar to how she would interact on it in the past. I have a few ideas of what could possibly be going on, and some are much more likely than others, but I was hoping to find some answers. Some of the possibilities I came up with was, her account has been hacked and it's being used by some stranger. I pray that they aren't trying to get any insight on people who loved and trusted my grandma. Another one is, someone close to her has access and is trying to live on her memory in an attempt to help make it feel like she's still with us, but they won't own up to it. I don't know, but it sure as hell is unsettling.